On the day we were supposed to leave for our honeymoon, I was stunned when Terry handed me divorce papers. He calmly informed me that he planned to take his entire family on what should have been our romantic getaway. If I didn't agree with this arrangement, he said we could simply part ways. Though I was seething inside, I maintained my composure and replied, "That's fine, but remember, I'm still my own person." His shocked expression gave me a small sense of victory. "My name is Lauren, and I'm a 38-year-old real estate agent. I love my job and am grateful for the support I receive from my colleagues. While my career is fulfilling, my personal life is quite simple. I don't have many hobbies and until recently had never been in a relationship. Watching my friends get married in their 30s left me feeling behind, and it didn't help that younger colleagues frequently left the company, which always saddened me. Then I met Terry through a mutual friend. He was 3 years younger than me, with a calming smile that made me feel safe and appreciated. Terry wasn't one to dominate conversations. He preferred to listen, always valuing my input. It was a refreshing change, as I wasn't used to feeling so involved in decision-making, given my lack of romantic experience. I quickly grew fond of him, and our relationship blossomed. When the topic of marriage came up, Terry's simple and quiet agreement felt natural. Marriage, for me, meant making important decisions together. Planning the wedding, the honeymoon, choosing a home. It was supposed to be one of life's great milestones, and I was excited to share it all with him. Yet no matter the decision, Terry consistently deferred to me. He never offered his own thoughts, simply agreeing with whatever I suggested. Over time, this made him seem less dependable, and I started feeling less fulfilled in our relationship. Another source of growing tension was my interaction with Terry's mother. Unlike Terry's easygoing demeanor, his mother was assertive and dismissive of my opinions. From the first time we met, she laid out her expectations. "Lauren, once you're married, you'll quit your job and focus on the household, right? You're not getting any younger, and if you wait too long, you might miss your chance to have children. Terry is working hard, so as his wife, you should dedicate yourself to the family." She had very traditional views, believing that a wife should manage the home while the husband provided financially. What she didn't know was that I earned more than Terry. He didn't mind this and had even told his parents, but his mother disapproved. "A woman who earns more than her husband isn't endearing," she said, tone dripping with condescension. "Besides, can you even manage household chores?" She doubted my ability to cook, clean, or care for Terry's health, despite knowing very little about me. Despite her harsh judgments, I had always tried to maintain peace. But when Terry handed me those papers, I realized how little he'd stood up for me, and I knew it was time to prioritize myself. I knew I was more than capable of managing household responsibilities. After living independently for years, I was determined not to quit my job after marriage. I wanted to prioritize my aspirations just as much as Terry prioritized his. However, whenever my mother-in-law criticized me, Terry would remain silent, simply nodding in agreement with her. His passive response left me questioning whether I could rely on him as a lifelong partner. Part of me wondered if Terry's youth played a role in his behavior. Maybe he would grow into a more assertive and supportive partner over time. Yet I couldn't shake the fear that if this marriage didn't work out, I might never marry at all. My mind felt like a battlefield caught in a tug of war between anxiety and hope. With so much planning still left for the wedding, choosing the honeymoon destination, organizing time off work, the clock was ticking and the list of tasks kept expanding, only adding to my stress. As the unease continued to build, I juggled hectic days filled with both work commitments and wedding planning. One day, I brought up our honeymoon plans with Terry, noting that due to our work schedules, we could only take a long vacation soon. "Should we plan our honeymoon during that period?" I asked. "Yeah, that sounds good to me," Terry replied. It was fortunate that our work downtimes aligned, giving us the best chance for an extended break. However, a snag appeared in our wedding planning. The venue I had always dreamed of was so popular it was booked solid for the next year. "What do you think about having the honeymoon before the wedding?" I proposed, recalling that I'd read about some couples choosing this route. "If we wait to have the wedding first, it could be another 3 years before we can take our trip." "If you're okay with it, Lauren, then I'm fine with it too," Terry said. While I felt relieved that he didn't object, his easy agreement left me wishing he would express more of his own thoughts. Part of me appreciated his lack of opposition, yet another part craved a more active role in our planning and decision-making. I moved forward with our plans, and we ultimately decided to spend our honeymoon in Europe. I felt torn between choosing Florida for its convenience and the allure of Europe's rich culture. In the end, I was drawn to Italy, captivated by the idea of strolling through charming streets and indulging in exquisite food. I was also eager to explore local boutiques for stylish accessories and perhaps pick up some special tableware to celebrate the beginning of our new life together. After weighing various schedules and destinations, I finalized all the arrangements about a month before our trip. By then, my excitement was palpable. It would be my first trip overseas, and I couldn't wait to embark on this adventure with Terry, hoping it would bring us closer and maybe encourage him to open up more in the future. The thrill of planning our European honeymoon completely consumed me. My days were filled with excitement as I busied myself selecting travel essentials and outlining our itinerary. This joy temporarily washed away any feelings of discontent I had toward Terry. However, just a week before our departure, Terry surprised me with an unexpected request that sparked my curiosity. Since he seldom asked for anything, I wondered if it might relate to our trip. Maybe he found a new spot in Venice he wanted to explore. Eagerly, I asked what was on his mind. Then Terry casually dropped a bombshell. "I want to go to Bing Taylor when we're in Venice. Mom really wants to see it." I was taken aback, bewildered by his words. "Your mother? Wait, what do you mean?" I struggled to keep up with this sudden shift in plans, but Terry acted as if it was all perfectly normal. "Well, since everyone else is going, we'll all be together during the trip, right?" he said. "Everyone? What do you mean by everyone? It's our honeymoon. It should obviously just be the two of us." I countered, but Terry continued, "My mom thinks it's normal for the whole family to come along." Flustered, I replied, "Terry, I made reservations for just the two of us, and the deadline to book was a few days ago. Today is the last day to confirm. I booked the trip just for us. The whole family can't join now. If you think something can be worked out, you might want to talk to the travel agency," I said, trying to assert control. Before I could fully grasp the implications of Terry's words, the intercom buzzed. On the screen, I saw my in-laws walking in with their bags, completely ignoring my stunned expression. My mother-in-law's eyes gleamed with excitement as she exclaimed, "I thought I'd leave the luggage here since we're leaving soon." Terry chimed in supportively, "Just leave the luggage here," and began ushering them into the room without my consent. Panic set in, and I blurted out, "Wait a minute." I tried to intercept him, desperate to regain control over the spiraling situation. My mother-in-law shot me a sharp look, her tone dismissive. "What's the matter, Lauren? I hope you're not suddenly saying you don't want us to go together," she challenged. "I never agreed to this in the first place," I retorted, but she barely acknowledged my response. Instead, she turned to Terry, seeking his support. "You heard her, she just said no. But you always thought we would go together, right?" she coaxed him. Caught in the middle, Terry simply nodded and replied, "Yeah," affirming her presumption. Seizing on his agreement, my mother-in-law continued, overriding my objections. "It's normal for the husband's parents to accompany the couple on their honeymoon. Don't you have common sense? I hope you won't ruin this trip with any unpleasantness. We want to make good memories, right? I'll make sure to teach you some common sense this week before we leave. It's a special honeymoon, after all." Feeling like my world was crumbling around me, my frustration boiled over. "This is a honeymoon, you know. Normally, it's just supposed to be the husband and wife." I insisted, desperately trying to make her understand the traditional privacy expected on such an occasion. However, my mother-in-law was unyielding. "The husband's parents joining the honeymoon is just common sense. I can't believe you don't want to be with us. I thought we were becoming a family, but it seems our ideas of common sense are different. You don't seem to like me, and nothing seems to match," she lamented, her eyebrows furrowed in what looked like feigned disappointment. Her words dripped with insincerity, and I was certain she was manipulating the situation. Even Terry, without questioning the normality of the situation, sided with her. "Lauren, what's wrong with you?" "They're my parents," he said, aligning himself with her narrative and leaving me feeling isolated and misunderstood in what was rapidly becoming a family versus individual conflict. "It's not possible for us all to go together on the honeymoon," I stated firmly. "We've already made reservations for just the two of us. And honestly, I've never heard of families joining the honeymoon." Terry's response was immediate and heated, his frustration boiling over. "I can't believe you dislike my parents so much, Lauren. That's enough for today," he snapped, disbelief clouding his features. A triumphant grin spread across my mother-in-law's face, and it stunned to see Terry consistently siding with her without considering my feelings, especially in such a personal matter. Before I could respond, I found myself being ushered towards the door, which swung closed behind me. The last thing I saw was my mother-in-law's smug expression. Standing outside, I felt utterly powerless and wronged. Why was I being portrayed as the villain? Why did this special trip have to be overshadowed by such conflict? Overwhelmed by frustration and sadness, tears streamed down my face. A few hours later, a message from Terry pinged on my phone. I want you to check if it's still possible for them to join the tour. If not, we'll cancel this trip and find one where all four of us can go. Please think rationally so we can sort this out properly. His words left me dumbfounded, suggesting that the fault lay with me and leaving no room for an apology or discussion. Terry hadn't contacted me since the argument, likely to avoid upsetting himself. Time dragged on, and soon the day of our honeymoon arrived. Despite my emotional turmoil, I had spent a month preparing for this trip and felt I couldn't just walk away from it. As I got ready, the intercom buzzed. It was Terry coming to pick me up. We hadn't seen each other since our fight, and I was unsure how to act around him. His arrival should have signaled that we were still going on the trip together, but oddly, he carried no luggage. Instead, he extended an envelope to me. When I opened it, my heart sank. It contained divorce papers. After hurting my parents, you still plan to go on this trip, don't you? He accused. I'm taking my whole family on this honeymoon. His words cut deep, leaving me reeling from the abrupt and bitter end to what was supposed to be the happiest time of our lives. If you don't like it, let's just get a divorce. My mom said it would be better that way, he said, shoving the divorce papers toward me. In that moment, his true nature became unmistakably clear. I had once believed he would listen to my concerns and prioritize my feelings, thinking of him as a kind and considerate person. But it turned out he rarely voiced his own opinions and consistently placed his family's wishes above mine. This was the real Terry, and as this realization set in, my affection for him cooled significantly. Marrying him now felt more daunting than ever, and the thought of being part of a family with such a domineering mother-in-law seemed utterly impossible. With newfound resolve, I looked at the divorce papers he had thrust in front of me and said calmly, "Sure, but remember, I'm still single." "Single? What do you mean?" Terry exclaimed, taken aback by my response. "Weren't you paying attention? We talked about going on the honeymoon but delaying the official marriage registration until the day of the ceremony. I made sure to get your agreement on that, Terry. You didn't forget, did you? The marriage certificate is still in the drawer, and you even said, 'If you're fine with it, Lauren, then I'm fine too.' That's right, divorce or not, we're not even married yet, so there's no issue with going on the honeymoon under my maiden name," I reminded him. Terry's face shifted through a whirlwind of emotions before he turned red, frustration boiling over. "Are you out of your mind? To give up on marriage just like that, just because of a honeymoon? Get a grip." I shot back, matching his intensity with my firm voice. "This is me being rational. I've been so blinded by my desire to get married that I failed to see the reality of our situation. I can't be happy marrying someone who doesn't listen to their partner's opinions or support them. I'd rather stay single for life. Thanks for helping me realize that haste makes waste." "Hey, Lauren, let's calm down and start over, okay?" Terry's voice cracked, his eyes welling up as he seemed on the verge of tears, but I was no longer swayed by his pleas. I had made up my mind to break free from this cycle. Raising my voice, I told him, "If you're so desperate for a family trip, go with your family of 3. But this time, you'll handle everything from booking the tour to planning the itinerary. It's about time you experience how challenging it is to manage all that on your own. If you think you can handle it, go ahead, you indecisive man." In a definitive gesture, I pulled out the marriage certificate from the drawer and tore it up right in front of him. His mouth fell open, stunned by my resolve. "Do you understand how serious I am now? I refuse to have a future that's compromised. It's over between us. Why don't you go back to your beloved mommy and cry to her, you mama's boy?" Leaving Terry utterly stunned, I slammed the front door shut. From his expression, it seemed likely he would go and cry to his mother. I could easily picture it happening, confirming my decision was the right one. After the fallout, I reached out to the tour company to cancel our reservations. Since it was a same-day cancellation, we were charged the full fee. I sent the bill to Terry for the entire amount. It felt only fair since his actions had upended our plans. Later, Terry blamed me for our failed marriage and even spread rumors among our friends and colleagues. However, sympathy was scarce in his corner. Among our relatives and coworkers, he began to be viewed as an unconventional mama's boy, a reputation further solidified by his recent actions, which led many to see him unfavorably. When I discussed the divorce with my parents, they were initially surprised but quickly came around. Marriage isn't the only source of happiness, Lauren. As long as you're happy, that's what matters, my mother reassured me. Her words were a balm to my spirit, and I couldn't have been more thankful. In a twist of fate, this whole ordeal reignited my passion for travel. I decided it would be a shame to let my vacation days go unused, so I embarked on my first solo trip. Traveling alone overseas was initially daunting but turned out to be incredibly fulfilling. I explored historic cities I had always wanted to visit and found that being alone was surprisingly enjoyable. Emboldened by this adventure, I fully embraced solo traveling whenever I had time off. I'm already plotting another overseas journey for my next break. This new chapter of my life is defined by freedom and discovery, a path where I am no longer constrained by anyone else's expectations or desires.